Okay, it is absolutely true that the right is destroying its own. It's amazing how the Democrats are actually losing ground in the states, losing ground in the shutdown. Actually, Trump has come out more popular in the shutdown by American people, but we're literally hurting ourselves. Wait till you hear what Tucker Carlson just blamed again on Israel. You won't believe it. Guess what else? Guess what else? Guess what else? Candace Owens comes out and says that really all the people that's blamed for the tragedy of Charlie Kirk is really Trump, the government, and his own organization. Wait till you hear these stories. This is what I mean when I say we are eating our own. We are destroying our own movement in the conservative movement. It's kind of like churches. It breaks my heart because I see churches breaking up. Wait till you hear these stories where we're now selling churches to mosques because churches has lost the value of having church together in buildings. So we're selling churches. Also, other churches are getting burned down in the name of persecution. What are we doing? This is all happening in America, people. In America. And I'm going to mention one thing that Glenn Beck just shared, and it's just what we've been talking about. He talked about what Mike Johnson said at the podium yesterday, and again, I'm not the biggest Mike Johnson fan, but his words speaks just so much truth, and we're going to discuss it because what we need to realize is that the Democrats are good at sticking together. We've just learned to tear each other apart on the right, and we will lose because of that. It's bad news, guys. Let's dive into these stories today and a few more. This video starts right now. Hey guys, thank you so very much for being here. I really am not a pessimist. I just look at things in a realistic version. I mean, we have the Congress, we have the Senate, we have the Supreme Court, we have the White House, and still we have people that are quote unquote wearing the R behind their name or conservative behind their name and destroying our own movement. It makes no sense to me. We had 3 or 4 senators come out yesterday against Trump, which again, they're all rhinos. It's Don Bacon and Joni Ernst and some of those guys, Tom Tillis. They're all, I mean, they're ridiculous anyway. But that's not the part I'm more worried about because they've been losers ever since. The part I'm worried about is the Tuckers and Candaces and people like that. Let's discuss some of these reasons why you can't support these people anymore. And I'll be honest with you, people that I absolutely adore, some of my favorite people to watch and listen to was Tucker Carlson, Thomas Massie, and Candace Owens. Let's just go over what was said by each of these 3 people or what was talked about by these 3 people. Today it came out that Tucker Carlson said that absolutely, that 2020, this right here, it was all evolved for the Jews. It was all made to be a play against the American people, against the world, and it was the Jews that did it. It's amazing how brainwashed these people are. So Tucker Carlson comes out and states that, I mean, exact words, it was engineered for the Ashkenazi Jews, and they were supposed to be immune. The whole purpose was to hurt the world, and it was for the Jewish people. Now it's amazing how we have now came out to find out that the Wuhan lab did it, that China did it, that our NIH had hands in it, and Tucker Carlson instead of going after the Democrats, instead of going after the people that actually admitted to it, we go after Israel. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. Let's listen to what Candace Owens said because it goes along with it, and then we're gonna wrap it up with Thomas Massie, and then in the words of Alex Jones, who brings wisdom to this conversation, and Glenn Beck, you're gonna see how this all ties in. Candace Owens comes out now and states, for the record, that she's against this whole narrative that this was some leftist, that it was Tyler Robinson or anyone that's tied to him. Any left agenda. Even though right now, like the No Kings protest, they were talking about how glad they were of it. They were talking about how Trump is next and Elon's next and all that now. Even though leftists are embracing it, Candace now says it was Trump, the government, Israel, and the establishment, along with TPUSA. So that would mean his wife, his people, his best friends actually did all this to Charlie. Those 2 people right there, Tucker and Candace have some of the biggest conservative platforms, and they are destroying anything and everything the Trump administration's worked for or conservatism has worked for. Let's just take Trump out of it. The fact that they are pushing these narratives and lies. Prime example, yesterday that Trump came out and stated that he was, I mean, of course, we're trying to help Argentina out. I'm not saying I'm for that or not. I'm just saying we're trying to help Argentina out, which if you think about it, you're buying their money at the very lowest point. That means it's going to go up once America invests in it, so that means the value is probably going to go up anyway. But I digress. I don't even care about Argentina. But here's the thing that I do want us to make sure we understand. Trump did come out and say that, look, we're going to probably have to start buying some Argentina beef. And Thomas Massey was one of the ones that was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Trump is doing this. Why are we buying Argentina beef? Well, okay, I'm a cattle farmer. I've raised my own cattle for about 10 years now. We've ate our cattle. We've drank our milk from our cattle. We understand cattle. Right now, I wouldn't go buy cattle to save my life because you can't afford it. I bought my cattle when it was about $1 to $1.25, walking around per pound, meaning you could buy it. That was actually a high rate when I purchased mine. Cattle is selling now for $4 to $4.50 per pound off hoof, meaning a 2 to 400 pound calf is selling for $4.70 a pound. So that means by the time it goes to the packers, by the time it goes to the people that grow it, by the time it goes to the butcher, by the time it gets to the supermarket, the time it gets to you, that ground beef is $10 to $12 a ground for ground beef. Cheap ground beef may cost you $10 to $12. Now, Trump is not saying that he doesn't want American farmers to make it or ranchers to make it, but we're in a dire shortage of cattle. People can't afford the land that they have the cattle on, and people are not raising enough to fit the needs. That's why I tell you always to be sustainable. So anyways, I'm not for Argentina meat. I'm for U.S. meat. But the sad thing is people can't afford it. So what Trump said is, look, we're going to have to try to bring in some extra meat to help Americans make it, to be able to afford beef, or they're going to be eating hot dogs and buying the sausages, which is the leftover crap from the floor of the meat market places. So then Thomas Massey, instead of going after the Democrats, instead of going after all the things that has caused problems for the last 20 and 30 years in the beef industry, he goes after Trump. Now, Thomas Massey is portrayed as a liberty scorer and a conservative, as number one. I love Thomas Massey. I think he's a brilliant guy. But you know what he rated on the immigration open border score? F. You know why? Because he is so libertarian that he would rather just say, everybody's got more relativism. Everybody can do whatever they want at all times because that's liberty and freedom. No, that's not. That's not liberty and freedom. It's not freedom to burn the flag. It's not freedom to poke and prod a fake Trump or a fake J.D. Vance in the name of free speech and act like you're murdering them. That's not freedom. That's hate. He has no problem with the immigrants coming in. He has no problem with New York City's hiring this guy as a mayor and electing this guy as a mayor. So here's what I'm saying. These three people, great in their own context. They are conservatives, but their hatred towards the right and the conservative movement and Trump and everything that we stand for is destroying the party. Now, there's things that Tucker has said, things that Thomas Massey, of course, that does. He's a sustainable farmer like I am, and things that Candace Owens says that are brilliant. I support. But what we're seeing is a destroying of the right. And it's all because these people want to eat their own instead of actually turning the battle on the No Kings protest, on Chuck Schumer, on Hakeem Jeffries, on Barack Obama. Again, Tulsi Gabbard came out and stated that all this stuff became true. It's confirmed true for the last 10 years, what Obama and Brennan and Clapper and all these did. And yet no arrest has been done. But my gosh, Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are going after the Israel state and Trump and TPUSA. It's unbelievable to me. Now, before we talk about what Glenn Beck and Alex Jones just said, again, two people who typically don't get along, but again, on the conservative side, I want you to listen to what they said. But before we do, a word from today's sponsor. If you're 65 and older, or about to be, right now you're being bombarded with stuff about open enrollment and Medicare, and you have tons of questions. You don't know if this doctor's in it, this network's in it, this medicine's in it. There's a lot of questions you have. Well, today, our sponsor is Chapter. Chapter is here to help. Call this number below. Their goal is to walk you through it. The average person who uses Chapter saves $1,100. You know why? It's because they're not trying to sell you. Their service is free. Their goal is to advise you. They see the plans all across America and they say, okay, this plan can benefit you the most. They want to walk you through it so you have a peace of mind to know not only are you saving money, but you're getting the best plan for you. Plans are always changing. You may have thought you're on the right plan and then all of a sudden you call them and realize, wow, I'm not. Let Chapter help you today. This has been one of the best sponsors I've had because of the people and the testimonials writing back to us saying how much money they saved, how they have a peace of mind by their coverage, and knowing that they're not getting ripped off. Please, check with Chapter today. It's the perfect time because we're in the time where that matters, open enrollment. Check with Chapter today. Let them help you walk through this time. And man, if you can save some money, when everything else costs too much, like we were talking about beef, if you can save some money, let Chapter help you. Check with Chapter today. Now I want to mention two things. One thing Alex Jones just said, and then I'm going to wrap it up with what Glenn Beck said, and then we'll discuss a little bit more of these stories. But Alex Jones came out and said, mark my words, when you say everything is about Israel and the Jewish population, just as the lobbyists do, you're summoning an opposing demonic force that the devil can use. You can see the destruction coming out of this. Now, what he was saying was this. Now, he's not the biggest proponent and the biggest supporter of Netanyahu or Israel, but what he's saying is this: if we make everything that we do, what Tucker and what Candace is doing, if we make everything about the Jews and how much we hate them, and we make the rights division based on this place, he said what we're doing, we are destroying our own self, and we're allowing ourselves to be encapsulated with fighting amongst us, and we're allowing the Democrats to have a free pass. How many times have you seen, honest truth now, just listen, how many times have you seen Candace and Tucker talk about the left like they have the right this last few weeks and months? How many times have you seen Ian Carroll and Dave Smith? They'll be glad to dog out Trump all they want. They'll be glad to dog out the conservative movement. They'll be glad to dog out Ted Cruz. And again, I'm not for any of these senators and congressmen. A lot of them are jokes anyway. But they will destroy the right and they're quote-unquote Trump supporters, but they will say nothing about the left. How many times have you seen the Hodge twins and Dan Bilzerian and all these people that quote-unquote voted for Trump, who are part of the MAGA and Maha movement? All they want to do is destroy our own. I want you to listen to what Glenn Beck said, and he was quoting Mike Johnson, of all people. This is who he was quoting. He's quoting Mike Johnson. He said, Speaker Johnson just confirmed something I've been warning you of for a decade, and this is Glenn Beck talking. He says that anarchists, Islamists, communists, and socialists are working together to overthrow the West. I was called crazy for predicting this coalition, but what we're seeing is the Democratic Party is becoming a team of coalescing together. And what he was saying is, we have the same thing on the right. We may not always agree, but we have a coalition. But instead of us doing what Charlie Kirk was talking about doing, building this coalition, even though we don't get along on every issue, we can stand at a common denominator and know we want freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of godly living in America. But no, instead we decide to fight ourselves. Do you think the Islamists, truly, do you think the Islamists and the Rainbow Coalition get together and they actually believe in each other? No. Islamists doesn't believe anything dealing with the LGBT alphabet, but they're using them. Now, do I think the right should use each other? No, but what I'm saying is if we learn to work together, we can actually make for a better America. Then we can discuss some of the other issues. But instead, we want to infight and get mad over the stupidest things, and it's destroying what we want. Prime example. What have we actually done on the right? What has our DOJ done? Have we had arrests made? Have we actually done a lot of those things? Now, we have seen tariffs do good. We have seen our money go up. We have seen Trump hold to a lot of the promises he made. 50% cut on IRS, 50% cut on Department of Education, great. But you know what? What has Congress and the judicial side of things actually done to benefit Americans? They've made it more expensive to live. They keep stealing your money and basically using it to fund everything else. See, the infighting has actually caused us to fight amongst ourselves and actually quit the battle of the war that we're truly fighting with the left for good and evil. And like Alex Jones said, he said, if we make our war about ourselves, then actually what we're doing is we've become almost demonically possessed, and we're becoming like a cult to where we can't even want to win anymore. It's just like we want to fight this losing battle. It's heartbreaking to me. Heartbreaking to me. And Glenn Beck said it best. that when we fight amongst ourselves, instead of actually gaining ground, we lose it. You know, Trump is actually coming out smelling like a rose in the shutdown. American people actually has backed him more. His points have went up by 3 or 4%, while Democrats have went down about 4 or 5%. But instead of us using that for our good, we want to tear each other down. And I blame Tucker, Candace, Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, the rhino extreme right, the rhino, you know, establishment rhinos like Joni Ernst and Tom Tillis and Bacon and all them. I blame them too. The sad thing is, we can't seem to get along about anything, and while we're fighting, the left will come back and win. Prime example, New York City. Among American voters, meaning natural-born American voters, they vote overwhelmingly for Cuomo. I don't like Cuomo, but right now it's Cuomo and Mamdani. Foreign-born, quote-unquote, American voters vote overwhelmingly for Mamdani. So now we're going to allow the biggest city, the biggest financial hub, to elect a communist Muslim, all because we can't seem to fight a battle ourselves and actually support and actually want someone that's good to run for New York City or for any of these other states like California. Instead of us going after Gavin and Mamdani and Nancy Pelosi, we want to go after our own self. Sad. That should be a big wake-up call, and this should also be a big wake-up call. Prime example of how, again, the infighting has caused for major problems. I'm going to read these 2 stories that deal with churches, and it's heartbreaking to me. This should be a warning for Christians and conservatives. This was shared. It says, the historic St. Anne's Catholic Cathedral in Buffalo, New York was just sold to the Islamic community for $250,000 and now will be converted into a mosque for Islamic sinners. It says that the church no longer saw value and the Islamic community wanted the church. Now, if you remember a few weeks ago, I talked about how the Islamic movement goals were to get into the local elections, but not only that, was to get into the churches, to pay the money to buy the churches because they're funded from overseas and they're being able to buy these churches, and they're turning the churches, the American church, into mosque. We're being infiltrated, people. Our cities, our mayors, our states, now our churches. This is just one of many that they've done this to in Miami, in Florida, Texas, along with New York. It came out this week, and again, I like Kash Patel, like Vivek Ramaswamy, but they've not assimilated either. They're conservatives, but they're not Christian conservatives. They're supporting this Indian holiday, Hindu holiday that they were talking about yesterday. Guess who else did? Texas legislator and conservative governor. They all met and wished everybody a happy whatever for this pagan holiday. So you wonder why the church is in struggles and shambles is because the Republicans can't get our focus on the right things and true conservatism and traditional values, and especially Christianity. You wonder why the fall of our nation is happening, and let's go back to what Alex Jones says. A lot of times the infighting is now causing demonic forces to win. This is exact protocol. You start seeing the loss of churches to the Islamic State in America. In America. Here's another story dealing with churches. 2 churches in North Carolina were intentionally set on fire last night. This was shared by investigative journalist Matt Van Swoll. He said Christianity is under attack. He said, and 2 churches were set afire yesterday for their conservative views. While our focus is on all this stuff and infighting, we're losing the battle for good versus evil. We're losing the battle on freedom. We're losing the battle, most of all, with our Christian values. Because we've built this Christless conservatism movement, and it's actually destroying us. Please don't let this happen. Please don't let this happen. Do we need American beef? Do we need American manufacturing? Absolutely. But the infighting over this Argentina beef that's just trying to save some people some money. I mean, people can't afford $10 to $12 for a pack of ground beef. So it's either we try to help people out, and we complain about it, or we make the peasants have to eat other things and call it American-based. It's just sad. It's so sad that we're facing this infighting. We're facing the battles we're facing as conservatives and as Christians. I want to end with this, and this is just dealing with yesterday's grid problem. This 3-hour global outrage yesterday that put the outage out of AWS, the services, halted all banks, apps, websites, games, and government services. My son's fiance, Annabelle, they said their whole school system was down, the whole server was down. They couldn't get to their grades, couldn't get to school, they canceled school. I know there are some banking apps we talked about yesterday. I know that people couldn't get on social media. I know people, what they said, government services, some of government services were shut down with AWS. Could we just see that that 3 hours caused a major problem? What if it lasted longer? What if that was just like a plan to see how it did? Kind of like 2020, it was a plan. A lot of times when we talk about these stories, from the grid problems yesterday, from the infighting, for the good versus evil, for the destruction of churches, I think it's all God trying to wake us up to say, you better start thinking for yourselves and start doing things that I teach you to do. Learn the things like skills and leaning on Christ and being godly and pushing for revival. Because I'm giving you the warning signs now that America is in shambles. Now, I'm not a prophet. I don't know if this is what God's saying, but I'm just saying there's definitely concerning things happening. And the sad thing is, it seems like good versus evil is happening before our very eyes, and sometimes it seems like evil is winning because good people, Christian people, conservative people, traditional people are not standing up for the right things and actually fighting the battles. They want someone else to fight them for them. There's a church split going on in my town, and not to get into it, it's not a big deal, as in dealing with me. But when we have that infighting in churches, even local churches, what does it do? It causes splits and division, doesn't it? Bitterness. We're seeing that with the Republican Party, with Tucker and Candace. We're seeing that with churches closing the doors, finding no value in it, so they're selling to the Islamic State. We see Republicans fighting again amongst themselves instead of fighting the Newsoms and the Mamdanis, and now all of a sudden Newsom's stronger than ever. Mamdani's going to win in New York City. It's time to wake up. The clear warning signs are here. And I just want conservatism and traditionalism and freedom to thrive. I have 6 kids growing up in this world. Do I think that they should be buying $15 to $20 a pound worth of meat? Do I think that they should have to depend on the government for everything? Do I think that every part of their life should be technological so that way when the grid falls down, they're completely destroyed? I want America to be better for them. Not really for me, for them. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.